We begin this morning, though, with the CDC once again clarifying its latest guidelines for COVID isolations after receiving pushback for those recent changes. The CDC is standing by its decision to shorten the isolation period from 10 days to just 5 for those who are asymptomatic. However, the agency is now recommending those who test positive use a rapid test at the end of their 5-day isolation period to confirm their COVID status. This all comes as President Biden urges all Americans to continue using preventative measures against the Omicron variant, including vaccinations and masks. And while many are continuing to follow those measures, hospitals across the country are struggling to keep the doors open as COVID sweeps through the healthcare system, forcing hundreds of doctors and nurses to call out sick. And the same is actually happening with teachers and in our school systems. And today, hundreds of thousands of students in Chicago won't be returning to class. Chicago public school officials canceled classes after the teachers union voted late last night to temporarily transition to remote learning. The union says the move would be temporary until surging COVID-19 cases subside or Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot signs an approved agreement establishing conditions for return. NBC News Now correspondent Maura Barrett is in Chicago for us with the very latest. Maura, good morning. So let's talk more about this vote. The Chicago Teachers Union tweeted that 73% of its members voted in favor of this temporary transition to remote work. I mean, that's a lot of teachers, 73% of them. What have you heard from them? What's the mayor saying about this vote?
Well, the battle between the teachers union and the public school system here in Chicago throughout the entire pandemic has been extremely contentious. And so this isn't really any different, but teachers maintain that the safety measures that exist in Chicago public schools right now are just not enough. And as we look at vaccination rates, as kids are able to get vaccinated, only 24% of young students are actually vaccinated right now. And so while the school system is saying that they're upping their supply of N95 masks and they've donated or allocated millions of dollars to air filtration systems, teachers say they just simply don't feel safe working, which is why in person. And this is why they ended up voting on this measure late last night. But it's extremely angered the school district CEO and the mayor. I want you to hear a little bit from Mayor Lightfoot just last night.
I have to tell you, it feels like Groundhog Day, that we are here again at this hour, almost 8 p.m., after everything that we've gone through over the last 2 years with the CTU leadership. There is no basis in the data, the science, or common sense for us to shut an entire system down when we can surgically do this at a school level where needed.
So the mayor and the school district is proposing an option to shut down schools as needed on a school-by-school basis based on positivity rates in those individual schools. The mayor went on last night to say that this move, in terms of all the teachers saying that they're going to be working remote, canceling school for the day here across the entire district is harmful to students' learning and their health, and she called it an illegal work stoppage. Savannah.
Yeah, okay, Maura, so let's talk a little bit more about exactly what it means that, like you just mentioned, these students don't have class today. They were canceled late last night. First of all, I mean, some of these students get their meals at school. Parents, of course, thinking about balancing this now, who have other responsibilities or maybe are sick themselves, that type of thing. Let's just talk through some of what this exactly means, the rest of the fallout here for these kids.
Well, what was extremely baffling to me and my producer Kai last night when we were watching everything go down with the press conference and the vote, the vote didn't come through until around 11 p.m. last night, and that was going to determine whether or not kids could go to school this morning. So kids already in bed, parents not knowing whether or not they're going to have a school to send their kids to in terms of having class, or if they would need to figure out childcare. And so this has been contentious in terms of the parents' opinions too, because some parents don't feel safe sending their kids into school, while others think that school is the safest place. And that's the data that the public health commissioner is pushing as well. Our team spoke to some parents with opposing viewpoints. So I want you to listen to some of their opinions as well.
I am more concerned about the impact of not being in school, because we've seen what that does to children emotionally.
We felt okay about it until community spread continued to go higher and higher and higher. And right now, doing that risk and benefits analysis, we're keeping them home.
So as for that question around kids who get their meals at school, the CEO of the school district did mention that the school buildings are open today. Staff who wish to come in and work today can come in, administrative staff or teachers, and they will be providing meals for the students that need them this morning through lunchtime. So that is an option for parents, but classes and learning in general is canceled, both remote and in person. The CEO also noting that teachers who choose not to report today will also not be paid.
Also, it's just, you think about how many parents might not have even known until they woke up this morning at that time that it finally came down last night. They didn't even know their kids weren't going to have school until the day of. Maura, what's the next few days going to look like as this standoff continues?
Well, the school district says that it's planning on announcing its plan later today to move forward with remote learning. The teachers union saying that they're going to be working this way until at least January 18th or until the COVID case rate right now in Chicago goes down. And I want to remind you, Savannah, right now Chicago is seeing the highest positivity rate at nearly 24% than it has the entire pandemic. And so that's a cause of concern, of course, as well. But both the mayor, the public health commissioner here in Chicago, and the school district's adamant that the data does show that schools are a safer place for these kids to be rather than being out in the community. And so they're going to be working on this remote learning plan. We should have more details on that later today, but I think it's safe to predict that there's just going to be further contention between the teachers and the school district. Savannah.
Maura, such a lightning rod of an issue here. Thank you so much for covering it for us this morning.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.